Hello, everyone. I am Claudiumurgan, the host of the Spiritually Inspired Show, and my guest today is Leonora. Leonora was born in Africa and lived in 7 countries. In 2012, after dissolving many elements of her life through separation and death, she emerged into a new initiation and a new life. She founded Embodied Truth as a way to support an integral approach to awakening and embodiment. In her own journey, it became important to discern truth within herself rather than adopt methods or other traditions. Leonora is hypersensitive and dangerously empathic. She also held various careers from IT to cottage industry to permaculture. Today, she lives in Ubud, Bali, and shares her work as an empathic, intuitive mystery guide, offering a combination of guidance and training to enable others who have chosen to walk the path of truth. Leonora, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here with you.
I was quite intrigued by the fact that you were born in Africa. What part of Africa? And I'd like to touch on your childhood if possible.
Sure. I was born in Tanzania.
Interesting.
So, one of the themes of my life is being an expat or a refugee. So, I'm not African, but I'm born there. So this kind of quality of, who am I? Where am I from? Where are my people? Has been a thread that has shaped my life quite significantly.
And have you had the chance through your childhood to get in contact with the elders of certain tribes and tap into their knowledge and into their way of bringing the teenagers to manhood or womanhood?
I have not had direct experiences of that in Africa, except through video channels and books. So, and I have a very deep respect for the wisdom of the indigenous peoples. I left Tanzania when I was about 12. And the closest I got to that is hearing the drum beats in the local village at night. Yeah, so that was just mysterious to me. I had no idea what was going on, but I've caught up the information mainly through, books and such rather than direct experience.
Yes, I read some amazing stories about what's going on in the tribe, the life tribe of Africa, and it's beyond our comprehension at this point. So we'll have to experience that on our own at one point in this lifetime.
It would be great.
You also lived in New Zealand and now in Bali. Did you immerse yourself in traditions of these places, and did they influence your spiritual journey, or you just stay on your own path guided by the divine and God?
Yes and yes. My guidance has always been to kind of stay away from dogma, and that's kind of something I think is very unique to me. That there's something about me that required that. It's not that I'm advising everybody does that. I feel that there's the traditional peoples everywhere have roots that they're still in touch with, more so than the Western civilization. So I can't tell you that I immerse myself in the Maori tradition or the Balinese Hindu. I've sat on the edges and dipped my big toe in and felt directly how I feel. And I feel, I don't know how to put it in words, but I feel a great support for what these people are doing, but it's not my way. It doesn't resonate to my soul in the way it's like, some people come to Bali and adorn the attire and go to the temples and they immerse themselves, and it's, very profound for them. It's not like that for me. It's more like that in the Christian mystic path, which I have explored by traversing to France and Egypt and reading a lot and watching a lot and feeling the resonance that I feel on those lands and in those places, So I think each soul has a language, let's say, that has lived on the world that you can resonate to. And I found that through Christianity. But the irony of it is that my roots as a child was with Christianity, but I had no resonance to it because it was the religiosity, of the churches and so on. I felt no resonance to that at all. So it was like, oh, this isn't for me. And I looked very hard to find my place in Christianity as a young person, and I didn't. So it wasn't until many years later where I'd done my own inner work and found this heart connection, that I found the knowledge, if you will, that is in the field, and also particularly strong in certain places that you can visit. And it's like you go there and you get the encyclopedic download of that tradition as energy, without the words. And this is more about what's been my journey.
Interesting. I mean, I watched some very amazing documentaries about Bali and their energy healers. Some people went there to train with those healers, and they came back to North America and were quite successful on their practice. And it's a whole way of living and implementing this type of energy approach, and it's a way of life for those guys over there.
Yeah, for many. And I live in Ubud, and Ubud is all about healing, and it's probably no mistake that I landed here, so I'm possibly getting it just by living here and being emerged. I haven't felt no call to visit a Balinese healer. I feel I have a direct connection with the healing force within me. But yes, I'm very aware of the healers. There are many healers here that are revered. People come from other lands to visit. So it is kind of part of the Bali experience often. And so, when you share about that, it kind of brings to mind that this external learning of a way versus an inner learning of a way. And both of them have value. And at some point they have to integrate, what we know and what we see and what we've learned as a sort of, not a parrot, but, from participating versus, the knowledge is here and it's within us and it's in the field. And so the words can help the integration and the interpretation, but the words alone are not it. The words are pointing us to a direct experience and a knowing, a gnosis, if you will, of what is true.
Yes, we have to experience for ourselves, and as you said, go deeper and deeper to absorb that information, that knowledge, and then apply it within and without at the same time.
Yes.
I heard
to become an embodiment of that, really. It's like you can know it and you can act it out, but and kind of conform to it and be in that kind of relationship with it. It's like identified, let's say. Or you can integrate and unify and become it, and then you're just a living expression of the teaching.
Yes, indeed, and I will get that into that a little bit later.
Great.
I heard you once saying that my own spiritual lineage and trauma lineage is enmeshed in the Christian tradition at its mystical core. Why is that?
It's really through resonance. It's like on the journey of discovery, which is what I call it. We're spiraling around and around toward the center. And as we do that, we visit the same material at different levels. We're looking for the root cause, the origin of the trauma. And I always say to people, there's only one trauma, and that's that we abandon ourself, capital S, yeah. So if we could find that moment of abandonment and return to it and reconnect, that ripples through the whole system. And then ultimately, can we just live in that true self, rather than live in the divided self who's traumatized? So that's kind of been the first initiation I had, my first awakening experience, was a direct experience of emptiness. And I wasn't in my body when I had it. So that was very revealing over the years. It was like I left my body and I knew who I was. And when I came back in my body, I had to face who I wasn't. And the combination of who I was helped illuminate the traumatic material, the karma, if you want, in Balinese terms, helped illuminate that to, it's kind of like show you the way. This is in the way of you being your true self. So, you know, you can't run from it. I tried that. And you can't fight with it. And I tried that. And you can't hide from it. I tried that. So ultimately, you have to fall in love with it. You have to find out what it is. What is the truth? Is it real, this demon that I'm running from? So, you know, the journey in some way was very clear from my original initiation. But as you keep cycling through, you find external information that's resonant. And it doesn't, the Christian mystic information was very resonant. For a while I was stuck in Buddhism. I say stuck because I got attached to it. I also dabbled a little bit in Taoism, and I resonated very much with some of the work from there. So in some way I can resonate with any true information. Doesn't matter what tradition it comes from. I recognize that is true. But I feel, you know, it's like in my karma somewhere, I have some Christian stories, some past lives, or some, you know, my ancestral lineage or whatever. There's many things that make that special to me. The trauma of Christianity I resonate to just as much as the mystical core, and both are important for healing. You know, the truth, the one is pointing to the truth or gnosis, and the other one is like what you're being invited to believe so that you belong, you know, so that you fit in, so that, you know, you're taken care of by God or whatever. So they have quite different approaches. One for me is like my trauma lineage, and the other one is what my heart sings with. Yeah.
I think, you know, listening to you, I think we all might have some Christian trauma from various or past lifetimes. And
Yeah.
that's very interesting, because I was told that in a past lifetime, maybe 200-300 years ago, I was not a priest, but a monk. I was a monk, and I was very involved into writing books and copying the holy books. And I spend a lot of time meditating, and that might also come as at one point maybe as a trauma from due to different events, historic events, and I feel from time to time an urge to bash certain institutions just because they don't behave the way they should behave.
Yes.
And it might come from the past, might come from early experiences in this lifetime. I am not sure, but I know something is there.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. As you were speaking, I could see you in that role. So what shapes you in this moment is all the journeys that your soul has been through. And you can traverse time, which is an illusory concept, in the moment, because what shaped you at every stage and is still shaping you is still here. Yeah, so it's like a timeline, and you can visit that timeline. And one of the most efficient ways of clearing the timeline is to find the origin of the timeline, which is stillness or the absolute. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So you mentioned out-of-body experiences and NDEs, and I interviewed someone yesterday, Ray Hernandez, and we talk a lot about this phenomena. So how often you encounter these events in your life, and did they really shape you, understanding that this body is an avatar and you are an immortal energy being?
First, I don't choose to do out-of-body experiences, and and out-of-body experiences can often be related to an overwhelm in the nervous system. So it's a shock or a trauma can kick you out of your body, but it's a non-integrated place. So, my endeavor is to integrate back into the body. And then once you're doing that kind of work, somewhere on that path, it's appropriate to say, what is the body? It's like when I discover God, that's great, but what is the body? And it's this downward path of embodiment and bringing yourself into this conversation of what is the origin of the body is not a mental idea, but is actually direct experience of the absolute and form, formless and form, and the unification at that place. So that's the creation perhaps of the avatar. I can't tell you that I'm finished in this journey. I don't believe in finished, it's a process. And the last maybe 3 or 4 years, I've had a very deep focus on that process with the body and healing disease and, clearing the ancestral information. And the proclivity, like I feel like sometimes when I work with people and they touch stillness or they touch the center of their heart, they touch the knowing, that often sadness comes as a result. And for me, what came was, it's like too much, when I touch truth, there's so much stuff in the physicality that the system overwhelmed, so whatever your experience is fine. Wherever you are is exactly where you need to be. And it's really this journey of discovery of, who am I, to reverse the tendency to disconnect, to reverse the habit of separating out and, being in the illusory reality that we're all co-creating, which isn't working really well, so to come back into the source and to integrate that division. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that's what I want to say about that.
Yes, in other words, we are all work in progress, and we have to kind of better ourselves. And as you said, through silence, through inner work and outer work at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very big on living your practice, not just there's my pillow. I also did quite a lot of spiritual bypass because I had this profound experience, but remember that for me, it overwhelmed me and put me in my body, out of my body. So there was a tendency to go to God because the trauma was so significant. At the same time, because that pathway was so strong in me, the connection to God, it made it like a habit, or it made it very easeful. It's like, wow, there's no suffering there. I'm going there, but what's the body in that? So, that sitting on the pillow practice is a good part for deepening, the work, but the living practice of, sharing with others and participating in life and bringing the spiritual practice into every day and every moment. This is a big part of what I'm about.
Yes, we really have to sometimes detach ourselves from the daily activities, which is quite hard, and focus on the spiritual path and on ourselves pretty much.
Yes.
In fact, I'm going through this process right now where, as a family, we decided to just take have a major change in our lives and take a long vacation, maybe 12 months vacation, and just forget about work and not worry about anything else but work on ourselves and enjoy life and enjoy weather. And we'll see how that will pan out.
Oh, I think that you probably won't come back after 12 months. You'll just keep living that way.
I think so too, yes.
Yeah, I think it's very powerful to do what you're doing. And I know for me along the way that change and, like even now, if I go to the beach for a few days, for a little mini break, it's like the view from the beach and what I can integrate and what I can see and what I can feel and how I perceive my world and my life is completely different than if I'm staying at home. So even though my home is my sanctuary and I do a lot of work here, it's still really valuable to, you know, shift the furniture, if you will.
Yes, yeah, we will spend a lot of time on the beach and you know, walking along the beach and dipping our toes in the water, and I really can't wait for that to come. Yes.
That sounds great. Which
So,
beach? Where are you going to be?
Panama.
Oh wow! Okay, fantastic.
Yes. So let's take a journey through history, because I know you organize workshops and these type of journeys in various interesting spots of the world. So southern France is one, and your trip was about walking in the footsteps of Mary Magdalene. And I know that Occitan is that particular region in France. Let's go deeper into that story, please.
Okay, so I kind of stopped teaching workshops actually, because, you know, the workshop format is I leave my life, I go to the workshop and I learn something, and then I go back to my life. And many, many years ago when I lived in New Zealand, I lived on the land, I grew lavenders, I grew my food, it was all permaculture kind of thing. And people used to come to that and, you know, as woofers, willing workers on organic farms, and they would stay for a week or a few weeks and join you in your life and help you with the work tasks. And this was a very beautiful experience. We used to talk about it as like God's work, because the people would come in from, you know, Berlin and a crazy life, you know, or whatever, and then they would land in our place and ground, and the earth would heal them and the place would heal them. And me and my partner at that time were like mum and dad, you know, kind of, we would be supportive and curious about the person. So this was something that was always calling me about. I didn't like the workshop format, you know, it's like I'm the workshop leader and I'm going to teach you this. It's like it in a non-dual, beyond non-dual, in a unified field, I'm learning, you know, I'm not teaching, I'm just as much the student. So I was very much exploring how can I co-create events that really enable that, you know, that honor the gift that I have, but that really enable that information flow from the land and the places, as well as from the people that journey together, and the richness that comes, you know, the sort of magic that comes with who shows up to those events. And so I had no idea actually what would transpire when I kind of put my stick in the ground to do this journey to the southern France and to explore some of the sacred sites of Mary Magdalene and the Cathars. So from that standpoint, it was about going to the places and feeling the energies and having a direct experience of them. But from the other standpoint of cohabiting with people and who's making breakfast today, and, you know, the heart circles that we would run in the morning, it was really like living in community. And it was very important to me to make it flat and not to have a sort of teacher-student type situation. And that's just as important for me to learn how to be as it is for people who think that I'm going to teach them something, need to learn that they're responsible for their own journeys. So this was really began as a sort of experiment, and just to see how it unfolded with that kind of intention. And it was amazing. So I did it several times and I'd still do some more, but, you know, right now with the current era of lockdowns and such, it's not so easy to create those possibilities for people.
Yes, but I heard that it's an amazing place on earth with great energies, and
yes,
it's very interesting to visit.
Very interesting to visit. And I found the energies, like the very first time I arrived in France, and I was okay in Paris, and then I traveled by train and then by car with a friend to where she lived in the south of France. And when I got out of the car, my body shook for 3 days. So I knew that it was processing some old memories, and that was just activated. They were activated from the location. So, you know, that sounds like not so much fun. But then when I went to some of the sacred sites, I felt a lot of light and I felt a lot of resonance. And I also felt like, you know, the wounded people, like I went to some cathar sites, and as much as feeling the cathars, I would say, well, you know, what about the religion or the Catholics who were perpetrating, you know, what was going on for them? And I would tune into their energy, and they're the ones that needed the healing, not the cathars. The cathars knew who they were. You know, they refused to give up their freedom, you know, to belong to the Catholics. They'd rather die as heretics on the fire. You know, that they were clear, and they were in the light, and I felt their energy that way. But when I tune into the Catholics, there was like the guilt and the shame, and, you know, there were these lot of dark energies, and I felt that they needed the healing.
Yes.
You know, so it's often people go to these places for the light energies, but in the world that we live in, we really need to work just as much with the shadows as we do with the light.
Yes, and in fact, one of my previous guests, Anaya Sofia, she lives on a well-known property in the Occitan area, and she mentioned that there is a how do you call it? Prediction or a story saying that when the last Qatar was burned on stake in 1321, he said that we will be back in 700 years. So this is the year.
This is the year.
Yes.
Yeah, I've met Anaya. I met her when I was in the south of France through a mutual friend, and I'm in touch with her on social media. And so I'm aware of what she's been up to with the new place and so on. And I feel a call to go to France, and whether that's going to happen in the circumstances of our world right now, I don't know. So yeah, it's interesting, those kind of prophecies.
Yeah. You know, I often talk to my guests about authenticity and fear of being authentic, showing who you really are is quite frightening for most of us. And what happened to humanity in the last 18 months, in my opinion, was, you know, the time to strip away the mask, the unnecessary pleasantries that kept us stuck in a reality that didn't fit our soul. What's your take on it?
Yeah, you know, for me, the outside is a reflection of the inside. So at the deepest level, the unhealed stuff that we hold within us, our karma, our timelines, is being shown outside, and it's very clear. And, you know, everybody has a different opinion about what's happening, and everybody, you know, has a different solution about what's happening. But for those of us that are on the path of truth, you know, it's an opportunity to integrate and unify. So, you know, in some unconscious level, we're creating this reality. And, you know, I've worked on myself for more than 30 years since I had an awakening, and I've worked with others since 2009 or so. And one of the most common imprints I see is, you know, the split between the mind and who I think I am, which is created in part by how we grow up and the civilization and the ancestors before us. So there's a split between that and the power, which is in the hara or the belly, you know, the how we've developed, like anger's not okay, and emotions, we don't share your emotions, and all of these things. It's like the consciousness of the mind is maintaining a reality that is separate from truth, that is separate from the animal part of us, the human, the power, the emotions. And so that split is really being shown to us, like we've given our power to everything, the education system, the agricultural system, the government system, the health system. You know, they're dictating politics right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite phenomenal. And so, you know, for me, the task that's required is that we return to sovereignty and take our power back. And that sounds nice in words, and everybody's going to go, yeah, let's do that. But it's not easy. It's, you know, you have to meet your fears, you have to meet your demons, you have to transmute them with love, yeah, so that you have the courage to be the authentic self, you know, to be in the world. The Cathars are a great example, even if it costs your life. Yeah. So it's like, life is not worth living if I'm not free. That's where I see it for me. But not everybody is in that place. You know, we're all in some attachment to the old normal, which wasn't very normal. Yeah, we're in some attachment to the apathy and the comfort and the perceived stability of the reality that we lived in, by ignoring the consequences of that very reality, which is the destruction of the earth. Yeah. So we can no longer ignore, and we can no longer look outside for truth, because there is so many different narratives. Yeah. And which one you believe is based on what's happening for you inside. So I see a very unstable world because truth isn't out there, and to rely on somebody external for it, to give your power or your authority, the authorship of your life, to an external source, is the solution, you know, is the issue that needs to be resolved. So, you know, we're having the hard lesson as we get closer to the Aquarian age, you know, to the shift in consciousness, to the evolution of our species and the possibilities that we're coming into. The great work is really important, and it's hard to avoid. It's hard to be apathetic right now and to hide.
Yes, indeed. And based on the messages you receive, is the light already on the upside, or is still the fight is still going on?
You know, I'm one of these people who favors the I don't know, because that's my truth, is I don't know. I have my alignment here. You know, for me, the light is always here. It's never not here. The question is, are you connecting to it? And, you know, our relationship with the light is we want it to save us. But the reality about the light is when you embody the light, it illuminates the shadow. So for the most part, people are afraid of the light because it illuminates the shadow. So, you know, I don't know what's going to happen next. And it's an awesome ride right now to, you know, to live in the vulnerability of this not knowing, and to find the courage and conviction, you know, to point your arrow in the correct direction, to create, to realize that we actually have the power and the possibility to create a completely new world, not the old normal. Yeah, but to create a completely new world that has integrity as its religion and its politics. And I don't actually think we need politics anymore. So, yeah, you know, it's going to be different for everybody. You know, it's like, I'm not one of those people who has the way, you know, to say I've seen it and this is what's going to happen. I'm not that person. I'm the truth person. So it's like, I don't know. That is my truth. I know what I'm feeling in this moment. And it's really this moment and my connection to it and my willingness to feel it that enables me to clear the timelines so that I can be the light and I can embody the light.
Yes, we are living through challenging times, and to quote a title of a recent book, it's a controlled demolition of our lives. You know, sometimes spiritual, mental, physical connection with our friends. It's kind of controlled, and everything is being demolished or try to be demolished, and we have to come back from the ruins and like a phoenix.
I agree. Yes, I see it that way. And it's the light that's doing that. It's like the truth is popping up, the liars are being illuminated. It's kind of like, that's a sign. That's a good sign. That's like it's uncomfortable and it's not fun, but it's, from a bigger view, this, in the inner landscape, when I work with people, what we're doing is destroying the ego. We're destroying all the structures that we've built to protect us from life, to separate us from life. And we're becoming the life force. We're becoming life itself, one with life. And this is what's happening. It can look like the bad guys are going to win, or whatever it looks like to you. That is just your perception. Yeah. And so everybody has a different perception. What creates our perception is our timeline. So the task is to clear the timeline and be in the present. And from the present, we can see more clearly. And we're not concerned about the future. We're really just living, in the present. So that's a practice. It's not like an end point, that you've landed and you've arrived. Yeah, you can have days where you're fully in your light and days where you're derailed from that. And so we're very, very called at this time, through this, there's a positive thing in here, because it's very hard to be in apathy. It's very hard to be a couch potato. People are losing jobs and lives, and, things are going on, and you can't find your comfort zone. So the task is to feel the discomfort and then to create what you want. We are the power.
Yes.
And I think doing that individually as well as doing it collectively, it's like it's a we. We've been isolated from each other and separated from each other. That's very destabilizing, and it makes you feel powerless and afraid. Yeah, but we have to come together from our own center. We come together as a we, and we are the power to create the new world, and we're here to do that.
Yes, I mean, living in the present moment is not always easy, as you said, because we are pulled by what we call past and what we call future, our perception of this timeline. And yes. Especially older generations, they live mostly in the past, thinking that those were better times, and they forget to live in the moment and enjoy what they have at that time.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the ego is like dead. It's not engaging with life. It's engaging with the timeline. Yeah. So, and life is vulnerable because, life, you have no control over life, or it appears that way anyway to the ego.
Yes.
So yeah, it's really an awesome time that we've chosen to be here, to be part of this transition to the new way.
Yes.
And I really have no idea how that's going to come together. I only feel how I want to participate in it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. Leonora, how important is breath work on your daily spiritual practice?
It's like primary. Yeah. So, all trauma is a disturbance of the breath. So you can find the trauma in the breath. And the breath is so valuable for integration and unification. It's about the relationship between the outer and the inner, and where the breath touches the body is very healing. So putting awareness and breath and body together is very valuable. I kind of do a breath work process with people, which I haven't seen out there, but it's kind of tantric in the way of feeling the breath, rather than doing a pranayama type practice, which has value. This is more of a feminine way, which is just allowing the breath to be how it naturally wants to be without interference of it, but maintaining an aware connection with your field and noticing where the tensions and the tightness or the disturbances are in the breath, and creating a container that enables the breath to unwind itself. So the pranayamas are sort of more of a masculine, breathe out for 4, breathe in for 2, they have a pattern. This is like, what is the breath right now? What is it doing right now? And it's more of an engagement with the direct experience of how it is, and letting the breath show you what it wants to show you. So that's very fundamental in my work. Yeah,
there are a lot of breathing techniques which came forward in the last 5 to 10 years. Soma, Kriya Yoga, it's been around for tens of years, even more than that. So I think it's very important to adapt one of these techniques, which will help with meditation and calming your mind and body down.
Yeah, I read a year or so ago a book called Breath, which is a bestseller, and it's only been around for a year. And I would recommend it. I've read many breath books, and that's an area of my interest for sure. But this one was very special. And, he also visits with a lot of ancient breathing techniques, but he also visits with modern science. So, there's a kind of holistic set of information in that book that I've not seen anywhere. It's a beautiful book, and I highly recommend that. It's a guy called James Nesbitt.
Thank you.
And it opened some doors for me, and there was a whole interest in, the breath and how we breathe, how it shapes our mouth, how it positions our tongue, how it, affects our physiology, our biochemistry, how it affects our posture. So if you're into healing, you can't heal without working with the body. If the breath has a problem, then the body has a problem. So, my work is very energetic, but there's like adjuncts, it's like, what are you eating? What's your relationship with food? How are you breathing? And all of that. There are, a myriad of forms that we can inquire into in our exploration.
Yeah, we recently, me and my wife started to work with water as a way of healing, because also an important element. And we are testing the water and see how it works. And we have people coming over, and we scan them, and we imprint water with specific codes for their own disease. And we will monitor their evolution and how the body will respond to this unconventional treatment.
That's really great. So what is the equipment that does that?
It's called Hado technique. It is a technology which came out of Japan, developed by Dr. Masaru Emoto.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So it's been around for a while. Yes.
Yeah.
So
in my own work, at some point, as you explore who you are, you get down to the elementals. So for me, the exploration of water was a very big thing. And I sort of began that journey when I was in the Sahara Desert, and there was a lack of water. And my body was so dry. And the element of water is life, there's such incredible wisdom in water. Now there's this information on the 4th phase of water. And, like Nassim Haramein's work talks about, how the double split experiment is actually acting like water, that the vacuum is actually acting more like water. So just that we can't see it. Yeah. But so, water is a very profound thing. And I remember seeing Emoto's work many years ago and really resonating to how, water holds memory. And so, the memory for me is in the field. It's not, I'm picking up on it with my antenna, but I'm responding to the field, and the field is responding to me. So you have this feedback, feed forward loop. So, if there's a way to respond from your center, then there's no time, there's no freedom, and you're not tapping into the identity that holds all these memories it's your sense of self that creates time. And Nassim talks about, instead of space-time, he talks about space memory. And he says, without time, there is no memory. And I found that to be completely true. When I'm in my center, when I'm in the absolute, it's not there. When I split from my center into a sense of self, which is separate from my center, then I instantly am tapping into all my karma. Yeah. So, these are direct experiences, and it's wonderful to me, that we have this modern science with water and people like Nassim who are looking at a unified theory that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. We're living in amazing times. I think the information we need is here. It's magical.
Yes.
But it's not on mainstream media, so you've got to dig for it.
Yes, and you mentioned the fourth phase of water, which Dr. Jerry Pollack
yes,
brought forward, and he was very kind to write the foreword for the anthology I'm working on, Love Letters to Water. And there are poets and authors and shamans and healers and energy empaths who contributed to the anthology. And
I would love to have a copy of this book.
I'm shopping for a publisher right now, and
okay,
hopefully find one soon. And the book will go out next year.
Great! What a wonderful project, and what a valuable project in these times. So, blessings to you for what you're bringing to the world.
Thank you. 36 authors, 14 countries, Africa,
Wow.
New Zealand, Australia, US, Canada, Europe. So from all over the world, they responded beautifully.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yes.
You're like the glue that brings all the pieces together.
Yes, I like to
all
do
the
that.
people together. Yeah.
You know what? I want to ask you about something very interesting. The sacred text mentioned that the unconditional love is a state of being that puts us into a permanent contact with God, with Source. What's your experience of that? How can we really reach that state of unconditional love?
This is so hard for me to do in words, but it's a direct experience. So what I find myself doing is sitting in a place of presence and inviting people to, and I feel them empathically, so I can feel when they're there and when they're not, and to guide them into that direct experience. Yeah. And it's actually not that hard, and it can be quite easy. So there's something that's making it hard. There's something that wants to know how to do it. There's something that's trying to do it, there's an energy of, I want to escape my suffering to get there. There's all these blocks in the way. So, many people have this misconception about meditation or spiritual practice is about having a still mind and not, getting rid of their thoughts and all of that. Yeah. Is a quality of, that's not it. I don't want that. Yeah. That's not loving. That's hatred, actually. So my task is to notice what's arising and to love it to death. So when the thinker pops up and goes, it's not working, doubt, right, is what's happening in the moment is the thinker has separated out and is looking at the situation and not trusting and is in doubt. So what's required there is the embodiment of the thinker. And people are going, I don't want the thinker, I want it to go away. Well, you have to fall in love with the thinker, because the thinker is there trying to support you and trying to help you. And the thinker's only there because it hasn't been loved. So there's this shift that happens with people. And for some who've done a lot of practice, it can be instant. And for others, it might take a little while, but the practice is to meet the moment. So what's here in the moment? What does the thinker feel like? If I move out of thinking and the mental conscious level and move into the vibratory field, the holograph, as I like to call it, 3D, then I can actually discern the energetic qualities of the doubter. Yeah. And I can also notice the doubt. So that's the masculine. And then in the feminine is the response to that doubt. The thinker thinking is creating an energetic in my body, which I'm not aware of usually. So you have this feedback feed-forward loop between your mind and what it's creating. And both ends need to be seen, the masculine and the feminine, so that they can unify. So that's the work. But on a good day, let's say, where you're willing to let go and relax, is about relaxing. You just feel your whole bubble. Put your awareness in the center of your heart is the easiest place. And feel what is not moving and what is still. And just allow. It's all about acceptance and allowing. And in that moment, you're in it. Yeah. So in the next moment, something's going to pop in to disturb that. So it's a practice. Yeah. But I like, for me, I have what I think of as a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach, because the ego wants to know where I'm going and when I get there. And it's very preoccupied with the way. And the truth doesn't have a way, it's just the moment. So we can do the work of seeing what we see. We're looking through filters of perception. We can do the work of that. And then we can also do the work of exploring stillness and cultivating connection to it in a holistic way. And then the top-down and the bottom-up approach can kind of come together. So as I'm sensing into my field, yeah, I can also sense stillness, which actually illuminates things that I wouldn't see. We're blind to what's unconscious, but stillness serves to illuminate that. And ultimately, you're working with what is perceiving and what is creating what is perceiving. So, you know, it's a very simple, graceful way, but it's, when I talk about it, it might sound confusing or entangled with too much trying to understand. But if I invite you to feel what I'm saying, you're more likely to know, you know, to touch something different than what the mind is trying to discern from it.
Yeah, it's beautiful, Leonora. Thank you very much. And
You're welcome.
in the end, as you said, it's practice. You have to make it a daily practice and be consistent in what you are doing in order to reach that level.
Yes. Yeah. And for me, I think that's really true. You know, people have these different positions about practice, and mine is a sort of a feminine practice. So it's not, you know, do this for 30 minutes, do that. It's really, you know, maybe 30 minutes, maybe 25, maybe 20. You're in the moment and you're noticing, oh, I don't want to practice, or I think I'll have a coffee. You know, that is your practice. Life is your practice. Not practicing is your practice. Noticing that you're not practicing is your practice. So, you know, it's a different kind of way of practicing. It's a living practice rather than a regimented, you know, and the regimented practice may be a good place to start for some people. For me, it wasn't. You know, as soon as I had to, you know, take on a practice, I had resistance, you know, because to me, practice is like, why do I need to practice? Aren't I already perfect? You know, like that kind of a thing. So that took me on a discovery. So
Yeah.
So practice, you know, practice in the right way for you in this moment.
Exactly. Leonora, what do you think that most of us in general don't believe that the spark of God is within us?
Why?
Yes.
Yeah, why? Because we haven't touched it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, some people want to believe it's within us, but they haven't touched it. So when they're trying to believe that, it's a coping strategy. Yeah. And some people haven't touched it and so are skeptical and don't think it's real. And that's also a coping strategy. One has to inquire, you know, who am I and why am I here? And if you align to that, you will touch it. Because that's what it is. You know, it's kind of like, it depends what you're doing and what your motivation and intention are. But if you're aligned to the discovery, you know, not to fix yourself because you think you're broken, but really to the discovery of who am I and why am I here, then you are more likely to touch it. Because that, you know, it's a big part of who you are. But if you're aligned to, I'm traumatized and I'm broken and I need to fix myself, you're less likely to touch it. So I found, like, with working with trauma, it was so important to bring the connection to the light in, because that's what soothes your soul. That's what soothes you. You know, the traumatized person, you know, part of what traumas can be about is not just what happened to you, but what didn't happen. Is like, you know, the love or the protection or the safety wasn't available from outside. So when I learn to connect with the heart and feel who I really am, I'm soothing myself, because that's the love that I need is here inside me. It's, you know, so that helps you heal your trauma. And it helps you disidentify from the story that I'm traumatized and I'm broken and I need to fix. So, you know, once you touch that, it's a soul initiation. It's so enabling. Yeah. And I'm not here to talk anybody into doing it. It's like, you either feel the call or you don't feel the call. If you want to just heal trauma, then you go that way. And at some point, you're going to give up on that, because it's not going to get you where you need to go. So, you know, it's really about sometimes just planting the seed with somebody. You know, it's like, just try this, put your awareness here and touch this place. And then you know. You can't talk to you about it, but you can know from yourself. So it's a very hard thing, you know, for the mind.
Yes, indeed. Let's touch a little bit on your programs, your mystery school, the one-on-one sessions. Let's give people more details on what you are doing.
At the moment, I'm primarily doing one-on-ones. So I invite people preferably to sign up for 6, because that's it's kind of like a good window of time, 6 weeks, 6 sessions. And that's a journey where you have practices for that time. You have invitations from me of how you might practice that I feel would be specific to you to enable you. So my task is really about enabling people to become more efficient and effective in how they are journeying with their inner world. Yeah. And so I can see the things that are blocking them or causing them challenges. And so my practices, suggestions are kind of based on what I'm learning about you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that is, for me, the most effective way to work. There is also, at the moment, there's a program for anyone and everyone. It's called the Heart Smile Challenge. It's a profound program. It's a very simple program, but it's a daily practice. You get an email every day and an invitation every day. There's videos and troubleshooting guides. But the idea is to meet your heart every day and to discover something through the day and to learn to change your vibration and to keep touching who you are. So that's a very profound program. I think it's a valuable way to begin working with, you know, my particular flavor of work. At the moment, I'm not offering any other online programs or sessions. I've been sitting in, you know, what can I kind of make as a sort of recorded way, or how much of it needs to be dynamic and alive, you know. So the Heart Smile, which was released in May, was the first endeavor to see if you can just make a 21-day program, you know, to support people. And it's all in there, whether you're a beginner or an advanced person. There's a lot in that practice. You know, we are always learning, doesn't matter what skills we have. And then, you know, at the moment, that's all I can offer. That's all I wish to offer. But I have a lot of material, and it's like, you know, is there a book coming, or is there, you know, another training kind of program coming? And, you know, and the timing of that is really dependent upon what's happening for me in my life. So I'm just sitting in the not knowing with a lot of those things. But I can offer sessions, and I can offer that program. There's also some ebooks on my website, which are kind of like the basic fundamental things to explore, like the heart connection, sovereignty, reclaim your power, open to receive love, I think is another one. So there's a series of guided audios with an ebook the ebook for the mind and the guided audio for the heart connection. So those are the things that I have to offer today.
Thank you very much. And we're approaching the end of the interview. Any final thoughts?
I just have a very high vibe, actually, rather than a thought. So just wishing everyone the most amazing journey home. And, and thank you for doing what you do. It's so valuable to offer these ways of, giving this kind of information to people, and through your books and your work. It's been a pleasure to be with you and to share with you.
It's my honor. Thank you very much for your time. And to my viewers, thank you for watching the interview. Like it, share it, support me on my patreon.com/claudiumurgan page. Visit my website and you will get a free copy of one of my books. And until next time, love and gratitude.